What's up guys, Carmine here, and welcome back to the Q&A segments, this time for House of the Dragon Season 2. Back in Season 1 I combined these with the review video, and I may still do that, but because Episode 1 had a lot to talk about, I thought it was appropriate to bring it back. Beyond the blood and cheese controversy was quite a bit to talk about, the missing Pact of Ice and Fire, Criston Cole's hypocrisy, and more. But before that, as always, please be sure to leave a like and comment, it helps out a lot, and be sure to subscribe for more House of the Dragon content. But for now, let's get into it. The first question, or comment really, is from Akira Fudo, who says, "Bro here forgot that Lord of Winterfell and the heir died on the same day to the Mad King, and when Ned took the helm as Lord of Winterfell, he was never made privy to the White Walker threat, as the information died with Rickard and Brandon Stark." So the idea that Akira has here is that the Starks imparted this crucial piece of information, like the Targaryens did in House of the Dragon, and that Ned's father and brother were both killed before he could get that information. Okay, I kind of like the idea that both Ice and Fire are the only ones who know this, and that both families pass it down appropriately. But still, why not write it down somewhere just in case a situation happens where both Lord and heir are together and they both happen to die? Exactly for a situation like what happened leading up to Robert's Rebellion. Also, why only ever tell one person? These guys usually have more than one son, so I don't know. To me, it's still incredibly silly, but Banana for Scale actually had a better explanation for that whole scene on the wall, and he says, "Cregan Stark still being wary of White Walkers is fine to me. It shows how each generation believes less and less in the supernatural danger beyond the wall. It's also possible that Ned Stark had more to tell us than just about Jon's parentage." Honestly, yeah, I like that. I'm more inclined to agree with this, and yeah, that makes sense. As time goes on, the old stories fade into legends, and it becomes one long telephone game. I can get behind that. Next question from Connors9597. Where is Jace and Cregan's friendship? Where is the Pact of Ice and Fire? Jace at the Vale. Seems like we're skipping over a lot of material for no reason. For those of you who don't know, in the books, they spent a few pages telling us that Jace went to the Eyrie to get Lady Jane's support, which in this episode is briefly mentioned, and that he eventually goes to Winterfell, and he and Cregan become besties who drink and hunt together. It was even rumored that Jace and Cregan's sister, Sarah Snow, fall in love and get married in secret, but the most important part of his trip in the books was the Pact of Ice and Fire. Basically, the alliance between both families would be solidified when and if Jace has a firstborn daughter, she would marry Cregan's son and heir, Rickon. I guess this is the showrunner Ryan Condal either telling us that he doesn't really care about this part of the books, or that there wasn't enough time to include it. I really don't know, because it's clear HBO wants to extend the series, and what better way to do that than to give us a few episodes of Jace in the North. But at the same time, Jace staying there for weeks on end while his mother needs him in the aftermath of his brother dying is kind of awkward and weird. I'm hoping Jace will go back north, but then again, there isn't a need to at this point since he already has Stark support, and I'm sure he has more places to visit as Rhaenyra's envoy, which we saw in the weeks ahead he does do. Next question. Did I miss something? Daemon tells those two guys to kill Aemon. He even tells them that Aemon is a good fighter and to be careful. Why did they kill the baby? Maybe there was some explanation in the books, I did not see it in the episode. So I watched that scene again, and Daemon never says on screen that he wanted them to kill little Jaehaerys. Just a son for a son, which they reiterate here. In fact, Daemon also says off-screen that a head is needed as proof. It's clear that Daemon wants to inflict as much damage psychologically as possible on the Greens with those vague instructions, because you could argue that perhaps he didn't expect them to be so successful in killing anybody and being captured, considering he gives them the most insane task of taking out one of the best fighters in the city. I think Daemon's plan worked out either way. Should Blood and Cheese succeed in taking out any of them, then they got some revenge. But if they don't succeed and get caught, then it still works out because he wants them to know that he can get them at any time. In fact, I think it's weird that Alicent and Otto weren't panicking, knowing fully well that Daemon is definitely the type of person to get revenge in the most horrific way possible, and didn't have more guards posted or even a conversation about what he could do. Otto especially, he knows how Daemon is. He gets stripped of one of his best lines from the books to Aemon, which was, "You only lost one eye, how could you be so blind?" And from the books, when news reaches them about Luke's death, Alicent breaks down, and part of me thinks that she knew fully well that their retaliation would be gruesome and was dreading it. But nah, she was too busy getting those cheeks clapped. And speaking of butt cheeks, let's talk Criston Cole. Daniel here says, last season, Rhaenyra and Cole's relationship already established that he couldn't say no because she was the princess. Now the queen comes knocking and he still can't say no. Just look at his face after both sex scenes with Alicent. He's clearly not that into it. I don't agree with that. I think he is into it, but he's trying to put on that moral facade. Look, I did enjoy the interesting dynamic between Alicent and Cole in the last season where she couldn't say no to Viserys, and in a way, like, it somewhat connected them. You know, two people forced to do their duty, if you will, but I don't know, something tells me Criston Cole isn't complaining too much, though I do agree that they definitely need to address the hypocrisy here of him hating Rhaenyra for treating him like a hoe, yet Alicent uses him as a booty call, and judging by her line in this episode, it's happened more than once, so they got to address that. I think the point here is that they've always tried so hard to believe that they have the moral high ground and see each other as paragons of virtue. People who have risen above what life dealt to them, and in that they are above Rhaenyra's shady bullshit, so they find comfort in that, and what they're doing is nowhere near as bad as what she's done. Criston Cole's whole issue with Rhaenyra was her ultimatum, that he'd only ever be a side piece, but here, that's not the case, or so he thinks. But he's already decided that Alicent is better than Rhaenyra, so the mental gymnastics to justify this was already done. I just wish we could have seen them justify it instead of it being, oh, I guess this is a thing now. And finally, UNC54 says, did it live up to the hype? No, but it was always a significantly overhyped scene. People were comparing it to the Red Wedding, completely missing the point of what made the Red Wedding such an iconic scene. Yes, what we got was underwhelming, but it doesn't mean it was bad. The ramifications that come from blood and cheese will still happen. Any remaining naivety for peace has vanished. Helaena is in shock after being forced to give up her son, and I'd argue Alicent not being there enhances what comes after because now she bears responsibility, unlike in the original rendition where she's also a victim. Huh. You know what? I actually kind of agree with this take, and I don't want to bad faith anybody here who had an issue with the scene because the Sophie's Choice was removed and Alicent wasn't there. I do agree that it could have been better and more book accurate, but I also think the point was made nonetheless, like the commenter here said. The issue I have is that people think this one scene, not being exactly like how it was in the books, makes the entire episode bad, and I strongly disagree. I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because, yeah, you didn't like it, because there was much to like here. Jace and Rhaenyra, Aegon and his petitions, and even Rhaenys was awesome. And I hate that I have to keep reminding people of this, but book readers are not the main audience for this show. Casual viewers are, and one of the main complaints I've seen for them was the head-cutting noises. But regardless, the scene still served its purpose. Though I will say I sympathize with people who wanted Helena's reaction to be more horrific, more visceral. The character is quite different than in the books, so I'm back and forth on the way the actress played it, but it is what it is. I think we YouTubers also have a part to play in this because there are so many new random Game of Thrones YouTubers coming in every year, and despite the new people, everyone's saying the same shit, so, you know, we're all gonna overhype the same thing. It's a weird situation, so yeah. Also, let's remember that Fire and Blood is a secondhand account of what actually happened, so Blood and Cheese stumbling their way through this does make sense when you think about how we're watching it versus people who weren't there thought it happened, you know? In secondhand account, it seems like these guys are the ultimate badass killers, but in actuality, they were just Jesse and James from Team Rocket. And that makes sense, considering how oftentimes real historical accounts depicts a lot of infamous people in ways they probably weren't in real life. And one more comment for the road. Carmine hates too hard on the show, not giving it a proper chance. I used to get excited for your videos earlier. Now I have to avoid them because you come in with a sour mood after an episode every time. Huh. Let me just, if you don't mind me going here. But overall, I found the episode, at least most of it, very satisfying. Very satisfying, very satisfying, very satisfying.
Very satisfying.
Yeah. But guys, that is it for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below and let me know if your thoughts on the episode has changed at all. And be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.